live. We're really happy that you can join us for about 30 minutes. I'm Noreen Farrell, and I'm the Executive Director at Equal Rights Advocates, and we're a national nonprofit that's been around for over 50 years, and we exist to really support women and girls and workers and students across all genders. And I'm here with one of ERA's incredible partners, Shubhi Rao, who is the fierce founder and CEO of what we call a female-forward technology company called Uplevyl. Welcome, Shubhi.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
And, we're here to unpack, I think, what are sort of the most critical and exciting issues that are coming up about AI and its impact on workers, and also talk about how we, in our own initiative, are trying to seize agency about the discussion and for our communities and where we want to see AI go. And we've done that through the creation that we are developing and raising capital for called Care Up. And it will include, and we'll focus on this component for this discussion given the time, a gender expert trained AI tool supporting workers facing caregiver bias, or navigating the incredible barriers and obstacles that happen if you are in fact a caregiver, from hiring bias to pregnancy accommodation to paid family leave and the whole line of it. We're also here to talk a little bit about the kind of risk capital that is needed to do this in this moment for nonprofits like mine and companies like Shubhi's. And we think that we need to be part of the solution of making sure that technology centers justice. So to learn a little bit more about what we're doing, we have a website link. My colleague will throw that into the comments. So you can sign in there, and then we can give you more information as the project develops, but we'd love to stay in touch with you. I think that what's really exciting about our partnership with Shubhi and with Uplevyl is that we're coming at this from two different spheres, right? But yet we're coming together to really solve barriers faced by women workers. And so let's start with your journey, your sphere, Shubhi. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you've come to this day, what Uplevyl is about, and what's the problem that you're trying to solve.
Yes, well, thank you. And again, a real pleasure to be here. Look, I mean, today where we are in the world of AI, it's a fast-moving space. Having said that, about 10 years ago, when I was at a large tech company, and we were working on very large, complex data sets as it related to AI, I realized that in the end, AI is only going to be as good as the data sets that power those algorithms and how those algorithms are trained. But what really became obvious to me was that the big thing that was missing in here were gender data sets. And if truly we want technology to serve everyone, and if it's a specific technology related to AI, we need those gender data sets. And that's how Uplevyl was born about 5 years ago, to start to build technology that would serve organizations like yours that are really trying to move forward and with accelerating and creating this economic security for women. So again, AI and technology is designed to accelerate, and this is exactly what we are on the path to do.
Well, I mean, I can share a little bit about where I'm coming from in this conversation and some of the problems that I'm trying to solve. I've been a worker advocate for 25 years. I work with organized labor. I've been a civil rights attorney, filing cases all the way up to the Supreme Court. I'm a policy advocate. And it's been through those strategies that we've really tried to break the most significant barriers for women workers and others, including mothers and workers with caregiving responsibilities. And I do that not only with my hat on my team at Equal Rights Advocates, which has been around for 50 years, but I'm also chair of a campaign called Equal Pay Today, and it's a collaborative impact campaign with 75 plus partners, and we are trying to close the gender, race, LGBTQIA plus disabled persons pay gaps all across the country with partners. And we do that by addressing the contributors to the gap. And that is why do people have lower earnings? And part of it is time out for work because of caregiving and caregiving bias. It's very significant. And so when I think about how to best help workers in this moment, I am a Gen Z, and I have seen how technology has helped a relatively small organization like mine have very major impact. But I've been thinking, also how do I create safe collaboration spaces, safe places for workers to come and get advice that we can scale. We do provide direct services. And so I've been thinking a lot about technology as a potential foe and friend. And so I think it's important that we do think about AI and other technology as both a potential foe and friend to really guard against, I think, the worst of its potential, but also to seize agency, as I mentioned, as a leader, demanding that this technological revolution be responsible to human needs. So on the guardrail side, I just want to flag, we work with a great group of other advocates on policy interventions to guardrail against the worst of AI with tech equity and other partners. We have a bill that's going to be demanding some transparency if employers are using AI for personnel decisions, for example. But Shubhi and I came together and we said, how can we be part of the other part of the equation? How do we build really good AI that is controlling for some of the, I think, pitfalls that happen serving the workers that I serve in particular? What if we created AI that worked for workers? What if we created safe spaces to interact with AI? And I want to acknowledge that we're part of a bigger ecosystem of human-centered AI pioneers. I think we're all pioneers in AI at this point, with great funders and advocates coming together to do that. So shout out to Pivotal Ventures and to Humanity AI funders, to partners like the National Domestic Workers. We're all trying in different ways to create AI that's working for workers. The problem that I had to solve in my space is it relates to the fact that there are 44 million workers in this country who have caregiving responsibilities. They face discrimination in hiring, in promotion. They don't know their rights about taking leave and getting paid for leave. And I think that a lot of women face bias even for the potential becoming mothers. We see the motherhood penalty even impacting people who don't become mothers. And we know that motherhood pay gap is real. We know that mothers are earning on average 25% less than their male colleagues, that they see their incomes cut in half on average after having children. And their earnings remain depressed for years after. So this is a like, how do you get through paycheck to paycheck and pay your bills issue? And we've been working for decades on laws that address all these barriers, which is great. And we've been doing it with great partners across the country. But there is an incredible gap to rights we've created and access to information about that. I think across 41% of the country, there are these things that we call legal deserts, where people don't even have access to any kind of legal representation. And we know that only 3% of our partners, and we run coalitions and networks that have about 450 partners doing gender, racial, and economic justice work. Only 3% of those partners do direct services for workers who just want to navigate. Even if they don't want to file a lawsuit, they want to understand their rights. And so we did a little math. AI might have helped us, but we calculated that it would take that 3%, 23 years of 3,000 advocates working full time to give 44 million caregivers just 2 hours of legal advice. And if anyone has had to navigate having children, taking paid time off to caregiving, it takes a lot more than that, even for gender justice experts like mine when I was raising my family. So we really have to solve, I think, for that issue. I think also a lot of advocates are working in isolation without AI collaboration tools, and I don't think that they're working as efficiently and effectively as they can, given what's happening with technology. And the real issue, and I really want you to speak to this, Shubhi, and how Uplevyl solves for this, is that 61% of women, they experience direct harassment and security issues using social platforms. So there is a deep distrust of getting on a platform and getting what you need. There's a acknowledgement that our data is become a commodity. Our privacy gets violated. And so how do we address this if we were to sit down and think big, which is what I think has been really interesting. And then the final problem I want to solve is legal information is so fragmented. We have state laws, we have county laws, we have city laws, we have federal laws, we have laws that changed last session that didn't hit this. And we all have these websites where we're trying to keep things evergreen, and it has literally become impossible. So our ability to actually reach a lot of people with accurate current information, it's a unique problem to solve by the Care Up initiative. It will be aided so much by technology if we can address those other factors. And so Shubhi, maybe you can, just talk a little bit about how Care Up really considered those barriers and how, what we're thinking about in terms of its response.
So let me start sort of backwards what you just said, because many of you that are on the call today have done incredible work, given it's your life's work in building and creating all these rights. Set aside the deserts for a minute, and you touched on it. And I have spent an inordinate amount of time now looking into these statutes. And like you pointed out, we have statutes at the federal level, the state level, the city level, the county level. The complexity around that is insane because they're not even all nicely posted on any website. Oftentimes, the pages have moved, broken links, or they have decided to use some private company that now manages all of that. So that in itself is a nightmare. But moreover, even if you do find the right, you have to then understand your own eligibility criteria. When we looked at this, and by the way, there's 20,000 plus jurisdictions in America alone. So you literally have to map what exactly would be applicable, let's say, to paid leave, but what paid leave also means in different jurisdictions, and what the eligibility criteria will be for that in the context of that particular caregiver. So there could be like 500 plus eligibility criteria that you need to probably go through, right? Which it is in certain scenarios. So then you got to map that. And then you have to really make sure that how you're providing that information is easy for the caregiver. Because this is what again, I'm a simple citizen, right? And I sit here and think, okay, my taxpayer dollars go in to help to create all these, different websites and all this. But and it's for me. But when I go to that website and I try to read one of those statutes, it is all legal language. So somebody like me, most of us, or ordinary people, can't even read it. We can't understand it. So now that's another burden that falls on another human to take that legalese and make it into something that a simpleton like me can understand. Mm-hmm. And this is where it's really exciting for us and really humbling to be able to take on this really big, gnarly, complex project and go, this is how AI can be truly used for good. This is the power of AI to be able to take this very disparate and very complex set of information and map it such that when a caregiver, let's say, comes to our Care Up hub, she can actually have a conversation. And it provides not only just surfaces the correct rights, but make sure it's done in her right context and it's done in plain, simple English. But what's most important is really making sure that we are respectful of her privacy and her security. So her ability to be able to come in and be able to access it in an anonymous way, whereby, that security and privacy is not something that we slap in the top, but it really is built as part of the design principles of the technology. And that is different and unique because that's an investment as a technologist, as a builder, as a founder, you choose to make at the very, very beginning because there are trade-offs with it, right? Like, not that I ever want to do this ever, 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 because that ship sailed. But if I was in the business of having people come in and extract their data and sell it to the advertisers, I can never do that because just never built that functionality, right? So it's not, that's a whole business model that will never happen. And that's okay, because for me, serving you all was super, super important. Having said that, though, imagine the third piece of this is being able to provide you all with very rich insights as it relates to the whole map of the United States. What kind of map, what kind of laws exist? I think this year alone, we've seen like 85 changes in certain statutes as it relates to survivor rights, right? And so being able to keep it really evergreen and fresh, being able to have that dynamic dashboard, right? We will be able to at least, not necessarily, we will not have the query or the responses, but we'll be able to pick up from, what parts of the United States are we seeing traffic coming in, and being able to then help you as to what's really top of mind in terms of what specific domain within the caregiving rights that people are looking for. These rich insights today are there, but they're all fragmented. In all your heads, but there's no way to take that collective brain trust and bring it together. And then lastly, I would say we need a space whereby it's only 3,000 or whatever this number is, but ability to come together and to be able to collaborate and be able to share and learn, and have safe conversations on a digital platform that is truly protected, because it's built not in our jurisdiction, but in the most highest security focused jurisdiction in Europe.
Well, I wanted to give an example of that kind of tracking data in real time and what's really exciting for us. And then I have a couple of questions for people who have not been creating technology for 30 years like you about this idea of how gender equity trained, algorithms and what that means. So one of the great things, we're living at a time where there is data threats. And I'm not talking just about personal data, but I'm talking about government collection of data. And that's the kind of government, Bureau of Labor Statistics. Like that's data that informs what are very important policy and system change targets for justice advocates like me. And so the thing that I found really fascinating is we can, let's say, disaggregate by any kind of identifiers, but we can see there is an uptick in requests about lactation accommodations in Austin, Texas. That might be a city in Austin that actually has a lactation accommodation law, and we're like, hello, you have an enforcement issue. We could tag our partners in Austin and say, look, we're seeing these questions and you've got this great law, so you might need to do some more community education. Or it might come out of someplace, like Nebraska, where there is no pregnancy accommodation. I'm actually using that as an example. I'm not sure if there is. But whatever the law is, lactation accommodation, if we see an uptick, we can decipher, is this a policy gap? Is this an enforcement gap? Is this a place to engage employers, right? I think that there's ways for us to share back aggregate findings that, if you actually intervene and assist and support people at this stage of their inquiries, everything's good. You have a happy employee, you have a resolved problem, you have given life to a law that we put on the books for a reason. And our data lets us know where, what the gaps are, where in the system, I think, understanding of rights and information is breaking down that I think can benefit many, many sectors. So I'm really excited about that. One of the reasons why we're raising capital for this project is that I now appreciate how hard it is to think about a data set that is gender expert trained, curated, reviewed, constantly tested to make sure there isn't hallucinations on things. So tell us a little bit about how that is really uniquely being created for the problem we're trying to solve.
Yeah, I think if we just go onto the internet and you just say, okay, let me pull everything around caregiving, I promise you, you will get over 1 billion pages. And then
I've
you
tried
need to, right?
that.
Yes, right? Well, you can just do Google, you'll see how many hits you'll get, right? Like it's going to be a crazy number. But when you start to decipher that data set, you'll start to see, oh, here's the real primary sources, here's the secondary sources. So again, we have algorithms and ways to start to separate that, because there could be really good primary sources. They could be handbooks, they could be posters, they could be, FAQs. And they have all the right language, looks and feels like it's a statute, but it isn't. And so
Or it's
we,
old, right? It's dated
right,
or
it's
something.
old or it's dated, it's not applicable anymore. And so we had to train our algorithms to be able to figure out, just like a human, right? Like we mirrored it to be able to, not saying it's 100%, but because it's going to continue to learn every day, but to be able to first separate that what's primary versus secondary. Then you do the primary and it goes through an iterative cycles until you go, yep, these are all the correct statutes. But it still means there is oversight, a human in the loop, right? Lawyers, advocates, to really, really, again, double, triple check to ensure that what we have captured as a data corpus is truly the right sources of that information.
Yeah.
That's one step of it. But now to take what something could be a simple document and to really make it machine readable, it's kind of like, you get, let's say the source of water might be coming down one of the rivers, but you need it that when you turn the faucet on in your home, you want that water to be super clean. How do you go from that murky, dirty river water, and has to get all the steps it goes through for ingesting, cleansing, and then finally coming out the various plumbing lines to your faucet? That's exactly what we have to do on the other side. So Genie, or the algorithm, can take that data set and then apply the context of the caregiver. And this is where the other training has to happen for the algorithm, is how do we communicate to the caregiver? You can't just provide all the, let's say, statutes. You need to start to slowly ask her all her eligibility criteria and then surface the right, explain, provide her the right forms that she may need to complete, provide her the right templates, letter templates that she may need to provide her a government agency or her employer, right? So it's a full workflow that needs to happen. And that is all algorithmic training on the back end to create those workflows.
It's amazing. I want to touch on one other thing, because look, as I said, I am, the whole goal of your endeavor is to serve gender justice issues. We take our role in the gender justice and the racial and economic justice community very seriously. So one of the things that we're building into what we're working on, and I recommend for other people that are thinking about these endeavors, it's very important that our community is part of the building process, part of the curation and testing process, and then part of the distribution process, so that the clients and communities and workers that we serve feel that they have a trusted messenger to bring to this tool. And so one of the things that's important to us in our role is, and this will be a project of Equal Rights Advocates, a 501c3 project. Uplevyl will be the consultant building the technology. I've had that question from a couple of people. Although Uplevyl has a lot of other great things happening too, so I want you to check out their broader business model. Is we want to bring, let's say we start with our 450 partners into our collaboration space, lifting up everyone's unique contributions to all the work that we do, making sure that they're working with the navigator, they're using it, they're giving us the feedback, they're thinking about, all right, what I will say is there is no way, ERA really seriously considered, and I know a lot of nonprofits have had to go through this really tough analysis, can we even be a direct services organization? we have such limited human capacity, right? And I know that is a real issue in the nonprofit sector. So, there's so many organizations that would like to expand and scale legal services for real workers that can help them both get themselves acclimated to AI tools that will help them in the workplace, but also just having a place that's highly curated and reviewed and with great oversight to answer questions. And then we can also link them to direct advocates, throughout the process. So we will have, this community of ambassadors that will, be trusted ambassadors to bring the people they serve to the site to test it and use it and benefit from it. And so over the course of 3 years, we're going to gather a lot of data about, how that worked, how we can continually improve. Been so impressed with Shubhi. She's constantly thinking about how to make things better. So one of the action items, we've got 3 minutes left, and I want you to add some. We welcome partners. We welcome advisors. We welcome people who are going to tell it to us straight about how to get it best, because we are on this front lines of human-centered AI, and we want to be in it to win it. And so we need a broader community of critical thinkers with us. So please sign up on our website, and or here in the comments. I'm so sorry if anyone's asking me questions in the comments. I can't see them for some reason. So I'll be sure to get back to you. So that's an action item. Another action item is for people that are concerned about, what are policy guardrails to make sure we have human-centered AI. If you give me your information, we can send you some of the great policy initiatives that are being co-sponsored by ERA and led by many other groups as well. So, that part of the equation is met. And what other action items do you have, Shubhi, besides getting a lot of investors in Uplevyl?
Well, I really think that I would very much like to do, maybe if it's possible, roundtables, or it could be virtual, but more around how do we continue to build AI for good? Because the velocity of AI is unprecedented, and we really need to build a counterforce such that we can truly build AI for good. We can. Together, I think we all can put our heads together and do that. So I would love to understand what our bigger concerns are, but how we can also all be part of the solution in using this technology.
Yeah, I mean, you came to this with the perfect plan. Advocates aren't coming to it with the perfect plan, but we do know we need to be in it to win it. We want to be part of this solution. And, for those of us on the front lines of this, we want to hear from you and talk to you. So there's our link. Thank you so much for joining this conversation, and ping Shubhi and I with your articles, your thought leadership. We want to promote a really open dialogue about this. Our future conversations will be talking about the future of work for women workers and AI. So stay tuned for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shubhi.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Take care.